What is up? Happy Friday if you're watching this on the day. We're going to do a quick Showdown lineup review here. I don't play a ton of Showdown. Started doing it this year. It's really fun to just mess around with and throw a few lineups in tourneys, just see what you can do. I also started playing a little bit of cash this year because there seems to be a lot of kind of dead money in cash, just the way that people are throwing in lineups. But I've ran kind of cold in the past handful of weeks, so I've pulled back a little bit, and really just because I have a life outside of DFS, and it's a lot if you're trying to play showdown slates and main slate, and all your research in between. So, anyways. Showdown's fun because it gets you interested in the game, but it also really forces you to think through game flow and correlation, which are both things that are really helpful to being sharp and profitable in DFS in general. And it's something that I've really tried to go deep on this year. If you watched my last short slate video, 2 Gamer talked about this as well. It's just really important to think about how games actually play out. Instead, it's much on short slates, showdowns. It's much less of picking the best plays and more trying to understand how that game could realistically play out. So, what I did here is I just took my my best lineup from last night. I threw in just a handful. Like I said, Showdown was more for fun for me, and trying to get used to playing it. And I had a big Showdown win earlier this year. Big meaning I threw in like $30 and I won 800. And so it's been really fun for me to kind of feed off of that and try to keep building these. So anyways, last night's game was the Patriots Rams. This tournament here is this is a $1 buy-in, 3-entry max. I really like single entry, 3-entry max, and even like 10-entry on the showdown slates. When you get in the really big pools, it's because there's less things that can happen. There's a lot of ties for first place, and so often if you're entering a field of 15,000 people or something like that, it's going to be really difficult to win first on your own without splitting it with other people, and you have to be really different to get there, and so it can just be really hard. So I try to play smaller fields. This one, let's see, 491, or no, sorry, there's more than 491. I forgot how many people are in this, but small. Like I'm trying to play things that are like 5,000 and less on these slates. I came in 75th. Again, 450, big winner over here. But if you think in terms of ROI for a $1 buy-in, that's pretty good. So let's look at the lineup and how I built it. It was actually kind of these showdown slates can be kind of tilting for me because, well, for one, you need to hit the nuts, otherwise you're not making money, basically. But it's really tricky because a lot of what I've found is that I am so close all the time. It's like on most of the right plays, but just not quite hitting it. But I want to talk again about correlation and how important it is, how it shows itself in this lineup, where I was thinking about it. Now, Cam Akers, finally, dude's getting the touches, like mid-20, 20-something carries last night. Just looked really good because I watched a good portion of the game. So that's promising. And the way that they're using him, I mean, his snap rate compared to Henderson and Malcolm Brown, just he's the guy there now, it looks like. So that was super cool to see. I definitely thought that the way that this game was going to play out was that the Rams would control it. they wouldn't have to rely on Goff nearly as much as Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, as much as people would expect or the field would expect. A lot of times people just think straight up a matchup. Oh, the New England defense isn't that great. Kupp and Woods are great plays. And so people are going to gravitate towards plays. Again, players and players' names as opposed to thinking through actual game flow. So, like I said, I expected the Rams to actually be pretty heavy running the ball here. I expected them to control the game, not have to throw a ton, and that the Patriots would be playing from behind and trying to catch up points and trying to just stay in the game. So the way that looks like in this roster is I expected Cam Akers to do well. I feel like he was by far the best play on the slate. He was risky because we don't know how the Rams use their running backs all the time, but his usage last week was really promising, so I went with that. And then we've got I'll go to the Rams D here first. I expected their defense to do well. And then Cooper Kupp I basically had this same lineup with Robert Woods as well. I figured that one of Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods would do well. And so if you look at this, like I said, what I'm banking on is Goff not playing and not needing to play really well, not because he can't, but just because he doesn't need to, because the game's not going to be that competitive. And so the thinking then is, okay, if Akers is doing really well, if he's scoring touchdowns, if the Rams are only scoring 3 touchdowns, how high is Goff actually going to score? And the answer is not that high. And so then we can differentiate the lineup by not playing Goff and not playing both Kupp and Woods, which I'm sure many people did. So that was the idea with how this is set up. I was like, I'm going to keep Goff out of my lineup. And so if Goff isn't hitting his ceiling, if Goff isn't playing really well, where are the Rams getting those points? Because I do think that the Rams are going to win. And the answer would be Cam Akers and the Rams defense. If they happen into a touchdown, which they did, they're in a good spot. So understanding, again, correlation, like we know this in main slate, right? We've known that for a couple of years now, that running back and defense are, it's like highly correlated play, or, it's a positive correlation. And so, but on a small slate like this, if you're going to bank on those things, then you could say, okay, well, if the defense happens to score really high, then Goff's not needing to throw, so I'm not going to put him in. So the mistake would be to play both, and there's never a right or wrong answer because variance in football, but it wouldn't be, you're not setting yourself up for as much a highly correlated lineup if you're playing Rams D and Goff, because the chances of the Rams D having a really great game and Goff having a really great game is pretty low, unless you do expect the Patriots to be, this back and forth affair, which I didn't expect. So, Jacoby Myers, James White, Cam Newton, just like god-awful scores here. Man, watching that game, it was a disaster. Like, the Patriots played like complete shit. To be quite honest, I felt that Cam wasn't really put in position to succeed. I thought the play calling should have been much more creative than it was. He was essentially dropping back and, just having to figure shit out, either be sacked or throw the play away. So I really don't understand, especially from a smart head coach like Belichick, how they didn't have a little bit more of a game plan going up against a pretty gnarly Rams defense and especially defensive line. So anyways, I expected Cam to be run heavy here. I figured he could easily run one in. I figured that he would hit 50 rushing yards, no problem. Ugh. Neither of those things happened. I didn't expect much of him. I figured if he got 200 passing yards, I was lucky. But he did not get there on the ground. Jacoby Myers, I was all over him in this game because I figured they're going to have to be playing catch up. Yes, the Rams' pass defense is good, but in a game that they were going to need to score points. Somehow Jacoby Myers has seen a massive amount of Cam Newton's passes, and he just hasn't really been paying off on those. So I figured that people wouldn't be on him too much, and they weren't. At 27% on a Showdown slate is not a ton. But again, just that the Patriots offense looked absolutely horrible. And then James White, I just figured that, again, in catch-up mode, he would see a handful of passes, giving him a decent floor and ceiling. I figured he was easily in the 5 or 6 catch range. And again, I just feel like the play calling was totally uninspired. Like, how are you going up against Aaron Donald and this intense Rams front and not just like dinking and dunking to your running back, which they actually like to do with James White. So I truly don't understand how you only come up with 1 reception and 2 receiving yards. Again, I'm not expecting any 3 of Cam, Jacoby, and James White to have these like massive smash games. But I was definitely expecting them to put up volume, even if it was in garbage time, getting 10 to 15 points each. So far from that happening, but at the end of the day, again, important to look at how this was correlated, why it ended up doing well, and it ended up doing well because, relatively well that is, because Cam Akers, and he didn't even score a touchdown, and he smashed. I thought for sure he was going to score. He definitely had a couple chances inside the 10. Just didn't happen. But playing Cam with Akers, that is, with the Rams D, expecting that if they were doing well, Goff would not be doing so well. So we left him out to try to differentiate, and only playing one of Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods as opposed to both. Now, all that said, let's see what's in first place here to finish it up. Cranking aces, look at this. This dude, both of his lineups were the top 2. That's pretty damn impressive. All right, let's see who he's got. So, you got Cam Akers, Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Rams D, Damiere Byrd. Holy shit. Look at that. Rams onslaught. So, what we'll notice here is that it goes like this is going against what I said, right? In terms of Jared Goff is in this lineup with Rams D, and he ended up in first place. Definitely possible when one team in the Patriots just completely shits the bed and doesn't even show up. In most games when they're competitive, that's not going to be the case. If Cam had if he had done anything and been in the 15 to 20 point range, he was potentially a better play there. And then, so we got really just a full-on onslaught here, bringing it back with Damiere Byrd, who was only 800 there. Think this was kind of the way you had to go in this game, is either you play it like I did, where you were expecting the Rams to win or like be ahead, and the Patriots having to chase, and being able to do that successfully, which is where I failed, or kind of the least probability of the Patriots actually leading and winning, and what that would look probably more heavily like them leaning on the run game and maybe their defense scoring, and the Rams having to throw to catch up. Or this lineup. Just like the Rams are just going to destroy the Patriots, so just play all the Rams guys. He literally just, this is their offense, right? Jared Goff, Cam Akers, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. Like, he played all their offensive guys and then brought it back with Rams D. Wow. Let's see what he got. Oh, okay. So, yeah, he basically super sharp. Yeah, just played N'Keal Harry. So he did one N'Keal Harry and one with Demir Bird. And it's funny because, so many of these lineups in hindsight we can look at and, for one, be like, oh yeah, my lineup sucked. Or two, look at these lineups and be like, oh, that's so easy. I should have been able to see that. And it's always going to be that. But I think it's just a matter of being able to bridge the gap between, like, do I feel good about what I was doing and why? And what did this guy do that was intelligent, sharp, and is that something that I can carry into the future? Yeah, wow. I don't know, at least since I've been reviewing lineups, I can't remember when I saw like a full onslaught like this where you just playing all of one team and literally just one guy coming back from the other side. So to be completely honest, I would not have ended up here myself, but that's just how showdowns go. I like my approach. In hindsight, I would have played the Rams defense in more spots. I played the kickers and some other lineups, but overall, still feel like I was pretty close. Like I said, if the Patriots had put up any type of fight, would have seen a little bit more movement there. But anyways, that is the Thursday night showdown slate. Hope you guys had a great day. Hope your night was good as well. If you played it, do you play Showdown? I'm curious. I know, again, like I said, this is kind of like new for me, and just don't take it too seriously, but just trying to get used to how different it is from main slate and the way that you have to think about it. So anyways, thanks for hanging out. Hit the like or subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys soon.